What's going on, everybody? It's Nick Hoffman. We're back here for another video, and today I wanted to go over 5 things that I wish I knew before I even picked up a guitar for the first time. So if you're new to guitar, thinking about picking one up, are you ready to learn? Then this will kind of give you a nice solid foundation on what to expect when you pick one up for the first time and what to expect on your journey down the road. We're just going to get right into it, and these are in no particular order. So number 1 on the list is going to be neck sizes. So when I first got into guitar, I didn't realize how much of a difference the size of the neck could be. So this is my Partscaster, and I have a really thin neck on this thing. It's probably one of the thinnest necks you could buy. I had never played a neck that was this thin of a profile before, and when I picked it up for the first time, this is after years of playing, I was like, holy crap, wow, I really love the way that this feels. Other necks that are kind of slim, an example would be like a Gibson Les Paul Classic. They have a thinner profile neck, feels really good. But for example, on some PRS guitars, they have a much meatier neck. In my opinion, it can make it a little bit more difficult to play, especially when you're first starting out, because you're gonna have to learn how to contort your hand in more awkward ways than you would if you had like a thin neck. So on a thin neck, I can wrap my thumb around and hit these notes while playing the rest of the chord. So that is a really big thing for me, being able to comfortably wrap my hand around the neck so I can add those notes in with my thumb. Because on a thick neck, I can't. My hands are too small. So it's really hard for me to wrap my thumb around it because my hands just aren't long enough, unfortunately. So it's important to remember when you go into a shop, play a couple different guitars, play one with a thin profile, play one with a thicker, meatier neck, and see which one is more comfortable for you, because all of our hands are different shapes and sizes, and it's really going to depend on what you like, and you're not going to know what you like if you just pick the first guitar that you see off of the rack. So definitely experiment, figure out what's comfortable, because a comfortable guitar is going to be a guitar that you want to play more, and the more you want to play, the more you're going to practice, and the better you'll be at the end of the day. So that's number 1. So number 2 is going to be string gauges. When I first got a guitar, again, I had no knowledge on string gauges, neck sizes, pickups, anything like that. So I didn't realize that there were strings that were designed to be easier on the fingers or just thinner. So naturally they are easier on the fingers. So when you're first learning, it's probably a good idea to go with a lighter gauge string, such as like a set of 9s. Whereas if you just off the bat start off on like 10s or 11s or like 13s, God forbid, your fingers are going to get sore pretty quickly. There's a little bit of a break-in period between you playing and your fingers catching up and callousing enough for you to play without it feeling like pins and needles in your fingertips. So I suggest starting off on 9s. That's what I play. I find 9s to be very comfortable, very forgiving on the fingers, especially like if you go on a trip for a week or two and you lose some calluses on your fingertips, you come back and it's not painful to play. It's not too hard to bend the strings, whereas like a set of 10s or like 13s, it's gonna be a lot harder to bend those strings. I would definitely start off with a lighter gauge string, get your fingers calloused up, and then if you wanna see what 10s or 11s or 13s feel like, put them on after your calluses are already built up. That way you're not causing your fingertips to just bleed everywhere. 9s, when you first start out, you'll just be able to practice longer. Some guitars like a certain gauge string. It's when they sound the best. So what gauge string does your guitar like? You're not really gonna know until you test it out. So get a couple different brands, get a couple different gauges, and just see what works best for you. And hopefully you find the one you stick with for the rest of your life, I guess. So number 3 is having a properly set up guitar. What makes a guitar set up in the first place? So typically when you go into a guitar shop, especially on like these cheaper guitars, they're gonna need a setup, right? So if you just go and get like a Squier Classic Vibe or something, most likely it's gonna need some sort of setup. And a setup really is just like getting the action right, the distance from the fretboard to the strings, how high off the fretboard are the strings, as well as like, you know, intonation and tuning stability, getting the nut slots, making sure that those are like filed in properly so that it doesn't bind and catch on the nut, and it just kind of like stays in tune, does what it's supposed to do. That's a big thing. And a lot of players, when they're setting up a guitar, they like the action to be as low as possible without any string buzz. So that just means that the strings are as close as they can get to the fretboard without buzzing, if that makes sense. So if a string were buzzing, if I were to fret a string, basically you would hear the buzz because the string would be hitting another fret up here on the fretboard, and it would cause a buzzing sound because it's not high up enough on the fretboard to avoid the other frets up here. I hope that makes sense. You shouldn't have any fret buzz on any of the frets. When you're first starting out, definitely just take it to your local music shop. Tell them, hey, like I want to set up. Can you make this setup with the action as low as possible without any buzz? Start there. If you want to raise the action up a little bit, further you get down the road, go for it. I play with a higher action. The action on this guitar is probably high enough for slide guitar. I just like to play with a higher action. I think it's comfortable for me, especially on this guitar in particular. But, you know, it's all personal preference. You know, how does the guitar feel when you play it? That's basically what setting up the guitar actually means. And if you find somebody that just knows how you like it and you can just take your guitar to them and they just know what to do, ideally that's a good scenario to be in. So do all that and set up your guitar properly, and it's gonna make your life 10 times easier. You're gonna enjoy playing more if your guitar is set up properly. So make sure you do that. If you actually go to the Colfax Guitar Shop website, or you watch the I Had a Master Luthier Rate My Parts Caster, you'll kind of get an idea of like what a setup actually is, the measurements taken into account in a setup, and you know, how it can affect how the guitar sounds and plays. So definitely check that out, educate yourself a little bit, and that way you know when you take your guitar to a shop, you just know what to ask for, and they can just get it done for you a lot easier. So on to number 4. So number 4 is gonna be pickups. When you're picking different guitars off the rack and you're playing them through the amp and you're testing them out, obviously they're all gonna sound different, right? But an electric guitar specifically, a lot of people say there's tone wood, this wood gives it brightness, this wood darkens the sound, blah, blah, blah. Ignore all that for now. The biggest thing that is going to change the way your guitar sounds is the pickups, and every guitar sounds different. So a Strat is going to have a Strat sound, and you'll know it when you hear it. Les Paul is also going to sound a lot different. Schecter or a Suhr going to sound a lot different. Squier is going to sound different. Telecaster is going to sound different from a Strat. So like for example, the Strat has 3 single coil pickups. That's what it's known for. That's what gives it the Strat sound. The Les Paul has 2 humbucking pickups. That's what give the Les Paul sound. Some Les Pauls have P90s in them, and that is its own sound. So I suggest looking up a couple videos on some pickups and kind of seeing how they sound and seeing what inspires you the most to play. Because the sound of the pickups is gonna shape the way that you play, which might not make sense right now, especially if you haven't picked up a guitar yet, but if you have, you know what I'm talking about. And you can kind of get a lot of different sounds out of certain pickups, but they're all so different that it's worth it to just maybe watch some YouTube videos. That way you can get an idea of like what each pickup sounds like. And even if you're at the store, just play a guitar with P90s, play a guitar with humbuckers, play a Strat with single coils, play the Telecaster, and just see the difference in the sound. Because the more you like the sound that it gives you, the more you're gonna play. That's basically what you want to keep in the back of your mind is like, yeah, you want the guitar to look cool because that's going to inspire you to play. Yes, you want it to have a good setup because that's going to make it feel good to play. Yes, you want a good neck because that's going to make it comfortable to play. You want pickups that you like because if the guitar sounds the way you like, you will want to play more and you will practice more and you will get better as a player. So all of this stuff is going to affect how much you'll actually play. So you want to get whatever inspires you to play the most. And the fifth and final thing here is going to be time. The amount of time it actually takes to get good at the guitar. No one really prepares you for how much work it actually takes, especially if you want to get really good. But a lot of people, it just comes naturally because they like to play. They pick up the guitar, they like to play, they just happen to play for hours on end because they just really enjoy doing it. They get addicted to it and then they become really great players. And those are the people that will play, 4 to 8 hours a day and just get really, really good. When you're first starting out, it's important to practice. Take it at your own speed at first, and the more you fall into that routine of practicing every day, the longer you can practice. And if you're just obsessed with it and you want to practice for 8 hours a day, dude, go for it. You'll get a lot better for sure. A lot of great guitar players, they play every day, like 4 to 8 hours a day. They're locked in, and they put the time in to understanding the instrument, because the guitar is a behemoth of an instrument to learn. Like how on a piano, all of your notes are kind of right in a row and they just repeat, so you can kind of see everything a little bit easier. On a guitar, you're dealing with patterns, right? So the guitar is a lot of pattern recognition, a lot of scales, a lot of arpeggios, triads. It's a lot to learn. It's going to feel like a lot to learn when you start diving into it. But when you first start playing, you just kind of just want to sound musical. You just want to play music. You're not going to be worried about theory too much. But as you progress and your fingers build up dexterity and muscle memory, and you get some licks down and you get a couple songs down that you've memorized and it feels like you can really play, and you want to really progress, you're going to have to dive into theory in order to understand how to create the music that you're after and how to create your sound, which is arguably the coolest part about playing the guitar, is being able to pick it up and play how you feel. And if you want to play how you feel, then you have to know how everything works together to make music. Practicing with a metronome, chord progressions, why do certain chord progressions work as opposed to other ones that don't work so well. Scales, arpeggios, triads are massive. Triads really help me unlock the fretboard. Knowing where all your notes are, you can just find them on the fretboard. And it just takes time because it's so much information that you have to learn and memorize. You're gonna spend a lot of time on this instrument, and what's cool about the guitar, and basically any instrument really, is the more you practice and the more you understand, the better you will be, because as you play and improvise, it'll just show up without you really thinking about it. Once you learn all the theory and you learn all this stuff, and then once you actually start playing, the goal is to be able to just forget it all and just play. But in order to do that, you need to learn it first. It can take years to get really good at this thing. And I'm not even as good as I want to be. Like, not even close. And I practice, bare minimum 2 hours a day nowadays. But there for a minute, I was practicing like 4 to 8 hours a day. The guitar is probably the most satisfying part of my day. I pick it up, I learn something new, I play how I feel, I play something new, and it's just a very rewarding thing to do. And hopefully when you pick one up, you'll get that feeling too. That's the whole goal. Yeah, that's basically it. It takes a lot of time to get good, but if you're willing to put the work in, you will be good. My guitar teacher actually told me, if you want to be really good, you have to be the weird kid that doesn't go out to parties, doesn't go out to drink. Like, you get home from work and you pick up the guitar and you play the guitar. Because if you want to get really good, that's just what it takes. You have to spend a lot of time on this instrument in order to understand it, and in order to, just build the foundation of your playing. I love the guitar so much, and I think that it's just, the opportunities are endless, the creativity is endless. It's so fun, man. And with all that being said, if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.